Hey y'all, I was going to help you a little bit with two problems from your worksheet tonight on unit rates. So I chose 2 and 6, mostly because 2 was already set up and then 6 was not. So I thought I would help you out here. All right, so the first one, Molly used 3/4 of a cup of glaze. So I've got my table already set up for me, so I can just go ahead and put 3/4 here. And that will make 1 1/2 cakes. So I can put 1 and 1/2 here. Every single question on this worksheet is going to ask something along these lines, which basically says how much is something do you need for one of something else? In this case, it's 1 cup of glaze. In this case, it's one, excuse me, cup of sugar. It's always one because that is what makes it a unit rate. Remember from today, we talked about unit rate is how much per one. Okay? So the one is always going to go up here. You can go ahead and fill this one in for number 6, and all the way down your worksheet, you're always going to be figuring out how much you need for one of something. So the question now is, what can we multiply 3/4 by to get to 1 whole? All right. If you weren't sure, you could say, well, I could actually make this into an equation. 3/4 times x is equal to 1. And think about it. How would you get x by itself? You would multiply by the flip, right? We would multiply by 4/3 on both sides. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to multiply by the flip. Every single time we're going to be multiplying by the flip. Whatever we do on this side, just like an equation, we're going to do it on this row as well. So check it out just to make sure the 4's would cancel out and the 3's would cancel out. So this is going to give us 1 as our unit. And now this is just basically a fraction problem. And you got to remember how to multiply fractions. We need to change this into a mixed number, or excuse me, it is a mixed number, into an improper fraction. So that would be 3/2. And then when I multiply, I always look to see, can I simplify? Can I cross reduce it all? And I can. These 3's are going to cancel out, and this 2 will divide by 2, and this 4 will divide by 2 and become 2. So Molly will need 2 cups. Excuse me, she can make 2 cakes with 1 cup of glaze. So that would be your answer for this one. All right, now looking at this one, Sam used 1/4 a cup of sugar to make 2/3 a cup of icing. How much icing will he make with 1 cup of sugar? So the 1 cup of sugar, this is always going to go in your first row here. Whatever we're trying to base our answer on, 1 cup of sugar, that is our 1 unit. Okay, so that is always going to go up here in the top row, and then the other item or the other unit will go on the bottom. And now we can just fill this in. Let's see. He used 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and that made 2/3 of a cup of icing. I obviously was in a very sweet tooth mood when I was making this worksheet. Glaze and cakes and sugar and icing. Getting hungry. All right, so again, we're going to ask ourselves, what do we multiply, this little question mark, what do we multiply 1/4 by to get to 1? Well, it's always the reciprocal. So we would multiply by 4 over 1, or just plain old 4. And whatever we do here, we also have to do here. And so we can kind of think of this as 4 over 1. Unfortunately, we can't cross simplify anything here. So we get 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. We get 8/3. Of course, when you're cooking, you don't really talk in terms of improper fractions. So we could change this into a mixed number. We actually had this in our notes today, the same kind of problem. So Sam could make 2 2/3 cups of icing with 1 cup of sugar. So, just to take away, the 1 is always going to go in this top right corner, and the unit is always in the question. 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of glaze, and then everything else kind of falls into place. This right here is always the flip or the reciprocal. I'm just being lazy. I don't want to write it all out. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.